Hi everyone, it's Nick with Build Up Advisory Group, and it's Fast Build Fridays, a web series where we will quickly build what you know about infrastructure design in the nonprofit sector. Today's Fast Build topic is again about the fundamental infrastructure considerations for nonprofit or social impact startups. It's part two to last week's Fast Build Friday, episode number 21. In that Fast Forward Friday, we talked about the first of my two fundamental considerations for startups. You'll recall that the first consideration was that startups should have a compelling programmatic vision and strategy to ultimately create a sustainable framework of governance, processes, grant making, and organizational design and structure. Today, we're talking about the second consideration. This consideration is so incredibly critical based on what I've seen over the years that I can say that without it, a startup will ultimately collapse. The second consideration is capacity. This word is used in so many ways, and I want to define how I'm using it here. I consider capacity as the framework needed to support and successfully execute a charitable vision. So that means both people and systems within an organization. It's not one or the other, it's necessarily both. Being a startup, the one thing you likely don't have enough of is capacity. Not enough capacity in your systems, policies, procedures, governance, and people. The team within a startup is often wearing many hats to perform many different roles. And of course, you can't perform all of those roles well. It's impossible. So you have to find a way to have capacity without having a fully built out organization from day one. And you shouldn't aim to have a fully built out organization from launch because that organization will change and evolve. And you have to create capacity in such a way that it encourages flexibility, growth, and course correction. In other words, your capacity must allow for the organization to step fully into itself, so to speak. So, how do you create this kind of capacity? I'll share three ways you can do it almost immediately. First, create an organizational chart. Now, you may be saying, Nick, why would I create an org chart when there's just one of me? I don't need an org chart to tell you what I do. But you do. When you're wearing many hats, it's quite easy to forget the many roles you play in order to provide capacity for the work. Knowing the roles you play and when and how often will clarify your funding requests and inform your capacity priorities. You can better determine when technology can provide leverage or when you need a person to provide support and how often you might need that person, or better identify the training needs a person may have to play a particular role. If you don't have an org chart laying out the various roles providing capacity within the organization, you're missing out on an opportunity to strengthen your capacity. Second, you can form alliances with other organizations that have sufficient capacity in order to take advantage of their capacity. For example, sharing of their resources and people can provide significant leverage to the work that you have to do and give you the capacity that you need at that time. A third way to quickly build capacity is through fiscal sponsorship. Fiscal sponsors are intermediary organizations that house projects and provide much needed capacity and support to fledgling organizations and projects. When fiscal sponsorship is done well, meaning it's the right fit and the right kind of support, you receive significant resources, leverage, and capacity as you need it, and it can be as soon as at launch. We talked about how to effectively work with intermediary organizations in Fast Build Friday episode 8. So we need to keep those principles in mind to make sure the fiscal sponsorship relationship works well. These are just three ways to create capacity so that you can support your compelling vision and strategy. Capacity building should always be one of your priorities when you're a startup and strengthening your organization. Requesting flexible, unrestricted funding coupled with capacity building support and providing this kind of support is critical to ensuring that capacity is being built within an organization. When you have the capacity to support and advance your compelling vision and strategy, you can sustainably build an organization and consistently show up for vulnerable and marginalized communities. And that's our fast build. I want to hear how you are thinking about capacity building in startups. I would love to hear from you and about your experience in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful weekend and keep building bravely.